Right, so welcome everybody. This is gonna be the first game in a best of 5 series in between the Fat Dragon, also known as Vivi, against Nicov in the Mangrove Shallows Cup Week 5 tournament. Map is gonna be Bogarapia. To the right we are gonna have Nicov in the Vikings in green, and to the left we will have the Fat Dragon with Chinese in blue. So he's gonna pick his strongest civ possibly for this matchup. I think. What do you think about the maps over here? Because I have a very bad opinion about the map from Nicov.
Yeah, that's exactly the issue here. I mean, as we talked about Vivi's potential game, now that he has Chinese, it's a bit different. He doesn't have a Mesosiv and whatnot. But yeah, the wood lines are not so ideal. They're both forward, so to speak. They're both pointing at Vivi's direction. The berries also, that's legit asking for some trouble there. Also the gold resources, at least to the back he has the gold and the stone, main gold, main stone, but it's hard to protect actually the back part because he needs quite an ambitious walling there. And with those woodlines, I mean, if you just drop a tower over there to the woodline where Nicov has placed his lumber camp, for instance, he must walk such a distance to the northwest, for instance. Otherwise, I mean, what is his other option? Northeast, far in the back. That's quite a bad map.
Yeah, this is actually a horrible map for him, because indeed, like you said, his back gold would be good, but it is just so much open. Maybe if he drops a dock on this little island, by the gold, that's gonna help him with securing that gold a tiny bit, but you're absolutely right. Both of these golds are very easy to contest, and his wood line is also quite open. Possibly, like, if you land a tower on the berries, that's gonna deny half of the wood line as well, so this is definitely a map that could be towered. I wonder if Vivi is gonna attempt that. So far, he didn't do any scouting around the base of Nicov, so he might not do it, which is gonna be extremely lucky for Nicov. On the other side, the map for the Fat Dragon is just a tiny bit better in my opinion. The berries, not so horrible, but the gold is quite open on both sides, to be honest. Possibly the smaller secondary gold is easier to take, but the primary gold is quite open as well.
I mean, he at least has the privilege to have a really good wood line to the back. That is quite valuable, and yeah, just still open. I fully agree with that one, that it's not entirely more perfect or stuff like this, but I still value a good wood line here for Vivi. That is at least something that Nicov doesn't have. But I think, as you also mentioned, Nicov might be safer than we think, because as we just evaluate what Vivi does here with his scouts, he's just actually going for a slower paced game. No aggressive scouting. Currently, if we just look at his point of view here, he doesn't even know where Nicov is. He's going to the north now. He's not going to find him there. So the civilization is the Chinese, and therefore he won't be able to go for some... Oh, look at this walling, man. Oh, not successful. Unfortunate. Good idea, though. Good idea. At least the scout is slightly damaged. But I think we won't see towers necessarily. I would be surprised by Vivi. He will probably just go for some feudal age aggression with some, probably forward dock, maybe also forwards or barracks, maybe just scouts and potentially demo ships or stuff like this. Some interesting combination it could be, but also at this very moment, Vivi has now found Nicov, so it is up to him how he's going to evaluate his opponent's map.
Yeah, to be honest, it is quite late for the Fat Dragon to find Nicov now. Like, we are at the 7-minute mark. This is too late to switch to the towering strategy. So even though if he didn't prepare to tower straight up, now it is too late to decide like, oh hey, I want to tower this one, because like, look at that, it's already malicious popping out for Nicov. That is something that the Fat Dragon will spot. This is actually very important. And do you think that Nicov could attempt the Drush FC? Like, fast castle for the longboats could be reasonable, but with this kind of a map, this is actually disastrous. And the front gold is something that Nicov completely gives up on. So the only gold he can take is at the back, and this is gonna be a Drush FC. Look at that. He took away 10 gold from the back gold.
I'll just quickly check in which gold. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just found the tile there. 790. But he's not going for Loom. It's gonna be a Drush Archers, I strongly assume. Not necessarily a fast castle, which would be, as you said, quite a disastrous decision. I think it's going to be just into archers, which is still definitely slower than what Vivi is going to do here. Vivi instead is going to go for scouts, as it seems. Quite a classical play from the Chinese on Arabia. But yeah, it is quite like that. I'm not so sure how this is gonna be. The Drush is actually a nice idea, but currently going with the militia to the left-hand side, I'm not so sure if that is going to be...
You are right about
nice.
the Drush Archer strategy. I am not so certain why these militias were just trying to walk around the forest.
Yeah.
Maybe he believed that the Fat Dragon can quick wall this on the front and he wanted to be a little bit sneaky, but this way this Drush will be extremely ineffective.
Yeah, for sure.
The only thing that could be important here is that if this Drush stays the way it is, then basically the Fat Dragon has no gold access.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, true.
He's going for scouts, so it's not a major issue right now, but it could have an effect on the castle age time of the Fat Dragon. And something I'm just noticing, the relic placement is also quite in the favor of Vivi. Like, it's all around his base. Nicov is so far away from all relics.
Yeah, he's definitely surrounded with that one, that's true. Interestingly, the Drush is inside now, or somewhat inside, but he cannot go through because of this TC type of walling that Vivi has. No matter where the militia is going to go, they're going to face the TC fire potentially. So, as you said, he can now just stay in front of the goals, just slow down the scout rush, and with that one, Nicov could go for some effective walling. And once he has the walling up, I think the scouts won't be as effective anymore because, well, what you want to do with scouts if you're up against quite some palisades and buildings. So Nicov needs to hurry up, and then it's going to be just fine. 2 archer ranges now in the making, and the archers are also now being produced. No blacksmith yet. He's going to need some time before he spreads out because archers without fletching just going on the pitch against some scouts, not the most ideal idea. He just needs a bit more time. For that one, he has the Drush, but Vivi doesn't seem to be too concerned, or is he? He's now retreating and going to the militia.
Yeah, I actually thought that he's gonna move forward and ignore these militias. That's a working strategy because, like, these militias don't have super high damage.
Yeah.
They can beat this table all they want, but Vivi will be able to repair that, and if Vivi moves in with the scouts, that could be great. But ultimately, this is actually looking quite good for Nicov. He has defensive spearmen, he's gonna wall his base around, and you're right. This back gold is definitely something that is able to be contested, but not with scouts.
Yeah, that's for sure, not with scouts. I mean, it's quite nice to see that the militia were able to slow Vivi scouts down that nice, because they also have more HP, as we have to keep in mind with the Vikings, but yeah, it's now the issue. What do you want to do with those scouts?
Yeah, it's a waste. This is a waste right now. And one thing I'm noticing, Vivi also made a spearman, which is a major head scratcher to me. Like, what's the point of the spearman? Did he actually expect Nicov to go for a Drush FC for knights? That's something I can imagine.
Like it's strange. Maybe he just wants to counter a potential enemy spearman with his own spearman. That's maybe also one. I mean, it's not
Vivi
ideal,
is making skirms. I think right now skirms is a decent idea. He's gonna try to snap down those spearmen as he just runs into 2. Oh no!
Oh my god, man!
that is absolutely horrible, and he's just running into the archers. He's gonna lose most of those scouts before he could even do anything.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good how everything's developing. Nicov has everything under control. That's always the gamble. If you go for a slower approach like Drush into archers, you might be too slow against scouts, for instance, and whatnot. But so far, it's highly ideal for Nicov. Everything's going according to his plan. He's not even able to get fletching. But he needs to be careful because once the skirmishes are out with quite some good numbers and fletching, he needs to have an answer for that one.
Yeah, but on the other side, you can tell that Vivi, he's concerned that he might lose his front gold. Like, this is not a great situation for him. He gave up on his secondary gold, and this will also mean that he is not gonna be able to drop Castle Age Town Centers. That's always an important factor when you drop a defensive tower. So he either starts mining stone, or he's gonna be playing this with 1 TC for quite a time.
Yeah, true. And now we even see a demolition raft by Nicov.
He completely missed out on those scouts. I think if he deletes that right next to the scouts, that could have been at least 2 kills.
Yeah, that would be quite nice, because the scouts can be problematic. But maybe he just wants to focus down on the skirms now, just to have some kind of counter, because his archers otherwise will be in trouble. There we go.
Look at that. A little bit of a block by his own archers. Even if he kills 2 skirms, it's a good value.
There we go, man. Oh my god, what a waste, man.
I think this is kind of the lag type of a mistake. So this is possibly caused by lag.
Yeah,
if it was it was 0 lag, I think he deleted it right next to the scouts and skirms. That would have been a nice kill. Still, he's doing very good as opposed to the Fat Dragon. Ecos are kind of the same, but remember that Vikings do have the free wheelbarrows, so eventually now he has the villager lead. And
I mean,
Vivi is the first player to castle.
It's actually quite good. It's actually quite good. I mean, he has wheelbarrow himself as well, right? I mean, now that the UI has changed, because now the colors are a bit strange for me, red and blue for now, but I guess, he does have wheelbarrow. There we go. So, and he is going for cast stage earlier. It's quite something, man. He can do quite a lot of damage with this very move if he's successful, but Nicov does his best by taking over the map control, by being the one pressuring, and he keeps Vivi inside of his own base for now.
Yeah, but even if the Fat Dragon gets up to castle faster, first of all, he might actually lose villagers on the stone. This is a major problem. And more importantly, what is the Fat Dragon gonna go for? He has one stable, one archer range, mainly just skirms, so he doesn't really have a power spike at early castle age to make up for his efforts. But you're right, Nicov is so much behind in castle age time, but I think if he can conserve his archers, that's gonna be a very, very strong army for him.
He needs to do that because I'm not so sure if Nicov has seen this, but we can see this obviously as we are he knows about the amount of farms. He knows about the villagers on the go. This is potentially going to be just knights by Vivi. There we go, he even goes for scale botting. So judging by his economy, you're right, if Nicov just preserves the archers and turns them into crossbowmen, he needs that kind of composition with demo ships, potentially to just face what is going to be incoming, as Vivi is now in the next stage, going for elite skirmishes and producing knights with a single stable.
Yeah, but single stable knights isn't gonna make it in my estimation. So the problem is gonna be that, like, elite skirms, they don't really have the great mobility. They will be nice. Oh, that's a waste of a demo.
Yeah.
Major waste. Something to point out that is very hard to see as a spectator. Like, demos normally go on aggressive stance if you just create them. So if you don't change their stance, they'll automatically attack any unit that is coming into their side. So that must have been the case. Like the demo just ramming that poor scout.
Yeah, well, good observation. It's true. It could be. What's next now is that Vivi has placed a siege workshop, so he's definitely delaying a potential next TC. He's building one in the background now. That's good for him. But yeah, now in the Mangonel in the making, he wants to pressure the woodland because he's aware of the fact that now Nicov is the one with a lot of issues here. Being late to cast stage, he definitely needs to think about a potential siege workshop for himself to counter the one that is going to be incoming, the Mangonel that is. And now to the north, more pressure, but the demo ships now in the...
Ooh, now this is what I call destruction. Absolutely amazing by Nicov. All the army from the Fat Dragon going down. And yeah, the problem for Nicov right now is that he doesn't even have a single stable, so he can't shoot anything against the Mangonels aside from ramming them with a demo.
That was so good, man. He actually solved the issue, man.
Yeah, Nicov was amazing with his demos right now. He's just playing this so well. I like the forward siege workshop choice by Vivi though. So the thing is that you cannot afford a forward siege workshop if you go double TCs in early castle age. But considering that Vivi didn't have the stone, the best thing he can do with his wood is move for forward siege workshop. And he's doing a quite nice job with his eco now. Gonna be 3 town centers very soon on the stone and on the gold. Very nicely paced town centers.
Yeah, he needs to hurry up though, because Nicov maybe can build up a momentum as he's been able to disrupt the one of Vivi due to the demolition raft being successfully taking out the enemy Mangonel there. But now he's...
Problem's gonna be the longboats, I believe. The great mobility, great firepower. How are you gonna counter longboats in this setup?
In this scenario, it's going to be a really tough one. That can add up to become a really tough thing to deal with. And even 3 knights won't be able to pressure as much as needed, I guess, because Nicov is now trying to go for some counter pressure. Is he feeling slightly intimidated by the TC, now going back to the middle of the map? He needs to do something because he's not able to actually, well, take over the game like that, even though he has a more powerful composition.
Yeah, he has a way better army. Like, look at that, 28 military, he has the crossbows. Defensive tower again by the Fat Dragon. He's really concerned for his gold over there.
Yeah.
And I think Nicov might be in trouble later on. So the problem is that he's gonna run out of wood. Actually, he already has a massive overchop. So if the knights move inside over there, that can be disaster. Also on the stone mine, look at that. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something that Nicov just realizes. He's very, very lucky to see that. But again, overchop on the wood line might be an issue. For the villager again by Vivi. I think Vivi wants to repair that mango now. Oh no.
Oh my god, he's gonna take it.
And maybe
What
even the
a
villager.
waste.
Yeah, the villager takes some shots as well. Leaving those mangonels alone is not a great idea. And now with the botkin arrow, those longbows, or longboats, I always say longbows instead of longboats.
good.
But look at the range of these guys. They can just... they have a superior range to town centers, and it's just about the damage output. So normally with crossbows you can't kill a TC, but with the longboats you can. Like, look at that TC going down. Vivi is forced to make another defensive tower. This is actually great micro by the Fat Dragon. He's hopping in and out of the town center, avoiding the arrows. So
Yeah, but so is Nicov actually moving back and forth and taking out these villages. This is so important if we just look at the villager count now. Even though Vivi has 3 TCs, he doesn't even have a 10 villager lead there, straight up. So Nicov is somewhat able to catch up, despite being on just 2 TCs for now. He's now adding a 3rd one. He isn't actually falling back too heavily. And now even the crossbowman about to kill some vills, man. Look at this.
yeah, this is actually very, very good for Nicov. And the problem is that the Fat Dragon has some knights around the base, but they can't really do any significant... Oh, they got inside!
Damn, man.
Oh, they got inside, but it's not gonna be a lot of villager kills. Like, the problem is that Nicov is gonna kill way more. So he can take down these town centers if he wants to. The wood line is massively overchopped though by Nicov. So it is about the fact that if Nicov can do significant damage with his army, he could easily fall for this one.
Yeah, I fully agree with what you've just said. I just think, though, the meaning of this little raid by the Knights of Vivi was actually quite hurtful due to the fact that Nicov is behind in villager count and he has a terrible economy. He has so many idols here and there. By the way, both have quite some idols. What is there going on there? 15 idols for Vivi. 10 idols now for Nicov. It was a bit more a few seconds ago. So the issue is that Nikov's economy is not on fleek here, and as he's behind 3 knights actually raiding the economy, it can be quite hurtful due to the fact that he's falling behind even more. So it was not that innocent, I would even go that far and say this, but as we said, Nicov has a superior army.
Yeah.
He can deal a lot of damage with that many longbows, man, 15 to be precise. There's a lot of potential to that. And even to the east of Vivi's base, he's taking out mangonels. It's quite damaging. Nicov, good game.
Yeah, I agree. His eco is actually very, very fragile. Surprising to see that he is still 10 villagers behind to Vivi when he did so much damage to Vivi's eco. But he's the one who has to do the damage right now. Like, Vivi doesn't even have an army. He has 7 army total. That's 3 knights and 3 skirms, and that's it. Nicov moving up to the town center on this wood, that's something I really like. He has massively overchopped his wood. I think he isn't even caring about this overchop. He's just expanding his base. He has the mobility, he has the units to control the map. 4 town center upcoming by the Fat Dragon, but that might not even go up.
Yeah, probably not. Even though Vivi now has guard towers there, it can be quite useful, but the range of the longbows is extremely annoying, as mentioned.
Did Vivi delete that town center?
I think so.
I really hope, because it was like 50 HP and the arrows were coming.
Oh, was it?
It was extremely close.
He's now rebuilding it now, so...
well, he had a lot of leftover stone, but I assume he deleted, but it was like a last-second deletion of the town center. But these longbows have a significant damage output. This is why I said the Vikings are just so strong in this setup. Even if these longbows just take down some buildings at the back over here, that's already impactful, but they are planning to move inside. But still...
once they're inside, man.
Yeah, I am actually believing that if he can just destroy that blacksmith or market, that's also quite impactful on dealing Vivi. Every bit of damage he can cause is significant. Now Nicov with the monastery, he's starting to pick up the relics, I assume. Yep, he's going for the relics. He's playing so good today, as he's the first player to Imperial. Vivi is gonna be so much behind the name, that might be a GG there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Interestingly, Vivi still somewhat doing a good game with his economy, using all the space that he has in the space. But the question is, what is he going to do with that? You've mentioned something really important. The army numbers for Vivi still 2 military versus 42. That is way too passive. I mean, I understand if we want to go for some booming, but not on an open map like this. We're not on arena here, you know. And now he's trying to go for what? The forward castle? Oh my god, man. This is so YOLO at this point. If Nicov was to spot this.
Yeah, this is actually very YOLO, but sometimes it could work. Oh no, he's very unlucky.
Oh my
the crossbows.
God, man. Oh my god, even the longbows and the crossbowmen, yeah.
Doubt, is that you? Oh no, and the longboats are arriving. There is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to run. Yeah, that's something that the Chinese players quite often do actually. If they're like very, very desperate and they know that there is no chance of surviving, they drop a forward castle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if you have seen the two pause matches, but...
quite some, yeah.
But that is what Mr. Yo and Tim also did. Like, if they're so much behind, then drop a forward castle and hope. Which is a good idea, but right now, it's not all about the military numbers, it's also about the fact that these are longboats, and these are possibly one of the best units in this type of mangrove map.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, about those forward castles, just a slight remark still. It can be successful. I mean, I don't want to go for spoilers, but I guess the players that you've just mentioned, they're not in too much of a bad situation. They can be rewarded, and so can be Vivi actually, if he was to actually, you know, drop it successfully. But nah, this is in this case not working anymore. Another castle being delayed. Or denied even at this point. 28 longboats at this point.
Yeah, it's just a massive firepower. Nicov is just gonna flood Vivi's eco with the longboats, and I think there's gonna be the rams coming soon, capped rams and siege rams coming up. There is nothing that Vivi can do to stop this. Even a defensive castle won't stop it because he can't keep it up. He can't do anything against the rams.
Yeah, that is too much. I mean, he's now behind in villager count heavily. 73 villagers to 95. And also quite some idols. No military for a long period of time, and it is GG.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely amazing game by Nicov, I have to say. Sure. I definitely believe that he had the civilization advantage, let's be honest about that one.
Yeah.
But, first of all, the scout approach from the Fat Dragon wasn't that great. Maybe if he moves in earlier with those scouts, you remember that he had the scouts being idle for some time, then cleaning up the militias. If he moves up with the scouts early before Nicov is walled, then that could have been a beautiful move.
So let's go for it. What is happening, guys? Demon's Red Team being joined by LidaKor, and we are going to be on the watershed with Vivi and Nicov. Vivi to the north with the Malians, Nicov to the south with the Japanese. So exactly what we've just anticipated. It makes sense, makes great sense. Interesting matchup, Malians Japanese. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, Japanese is a great civilization. You have a decent amount of deep fish around, as you can see. So,
yeah, man.
Japanese deep fishing is a surprisingly efficient way of gathering food. So it's not just about the fishing ship health bonus, it's also about the amount of fish you can get. So Japanese is a huge pick in my estimation over here. Malians, not so much in terms of eco, but if you are talking about combat value, I'm thinking a superiority for the Malians, to be honest. So
yeah,
I believe that the Malians is one of the most versatile civilizations with their army. They can go either cavalry in castle, they can go decent crossbows, but well, ultimately it's gonna be a cavalry build by the Malian player. But they have a great raiding units with the Farimba light cavs. They have good anti-cavalry units with the cavalry. They lack paladin, but they have very good cavaliers. So all is set for them to make a very good land push. And the good thing for the Fat Dragon, I believe, right now, is that he can actually move on the land region on the outside as well. So he might be able to avoid the demos. And I think this is the first time we see a significant difference in between the approach of Nicov and the Fat Dragon. Nicov dropping his wood eco on the mangrove terrain. Meanwhile, you can tell the Fat Dragon he wants to have his wood eco on the land.
Yeah, I fully agree. That is a huge difference. I mean, there are pros and cons with this. Safety, but also delay for Vivi quite far away. And also danger when it comes to well, being exposed, but as long as you're not on the water, I guess that is even better because Nicov is, as you mentioned, exposed by himself if he's on the mangrove terrain. So that is also extremely dangerous. Mac Bearmode was asking, is Navy nerf versus archers? Yes, it is. There's just one specific nerf when it comes to, for instance, galleys. Blacksmith techs do not give galleys the attack upgrade anymore. I mean the damage upgrade, but only the range, and that can be quite significant when it comes to archers vs or crossbows vs galleys. Something to keep in mind. But other than that,
I think there is a pierce armor
sure.
reduction as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Come again? Which one?
The pierce armor is also lower for certain warrior units.
Oh,
So
okay.
archers can be quite suitable. That's something I just noticed in the previous game. Demos do have a weaker pierce armor. We'll be able to check it in Feudal once we get some ships rolling. One thing to point out though is the lack of gold around this map. I'm just noticing, like, gold is kind of scattered in small spots, but there is not a huge amount of gold overall. So late game trash units might come into play a little bit easier. And it looks like we do have some neutral Renos as well. I'm just noticing this could be quite impactful as well. Yeah, lots of neutral Renos on the outside. That could be useful for some hunting. Surprised to see that neither of the players picked Mongols for this map in this case. Mongols could have been quite reasonable with this amount of huntables outside.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you, but maybe they're just too far away from each other, you know? It's maybe not as easy to, for instance, place a mill, and luring them is also maybe a bit problematic, so maybe that is the reason why they just didn't go for it. And also, we have to keep in mind, Mongols were banned, right? I mean, at least in this draft, so maybe that is also one reason. I guess so, wasn't it? Let me just check.
Yeah, I remember now. Mayans was the one ban, but I completely forgot what the other one was. Anyways, docks up for both players, and look at that, the Fat Dragon landing some shots on that Japanese fishing ship. It's gonna take some time for him to kill that.
Quite some time.
I just love Nikov's walls over here. He's doing it very good. Look at the amount of resources he secures this way. He's gonna have his wood line safe most likely. His fishing eco is gonna be safe. One thing that could be problematic for him is the amount of backfish he has. Like, he has one drop of pond over here, and basically that's it.
Just looking at the scout war in the meantime. Why is Vivi even bothering? Oh my god, man.
Yeah, he's gonna lose his scout over here. I'm actually alright with that one, at least the attempt. If you can actually force that fishing ship for some tiny bit of idle time, that can actually help you out quite a bit. You can't do anything else with your scout that much, so it's not a horrible idea, but losing it for this is indeed not a great thing.
Yeah.
Alright, there comes the fire galleys. Yeah, that's a good point. The scout was stuck there, but, well, it's because the Fat Dragon sent it there, so obviously there was no escape for the Fat Dragon scout.
Yeah, sure indeed. It was just an interesting trade there. But also very important to mention, well, as you said it, Nicov is going up with his fire galleys, and he has started definitely earlier. He has now 4 queued up in total. He's going to have his first up very soon, whereas Vivi had quite some delay there. Something you would not necessarily expect, but I guess it's quite nice that he has the Japanese Nicov, and it's working well so far, even though he was housed there for a second. Now interesting also, Nicov is successfully harassing Vivi's fishing boat over here. He's now securing himself in the water in the middle now. But that was
it's easier against that. It's easier against that fishing ship. It has lower HP, and you have the feudal age damage bonus for your scout. Might even sink that ship. So yeah, Japanese is also a great pick here because you get the speed bonus on the fishing ship work. So eventually you are faster producing your food. And the faster fuel is very important in this kind of maps, because you are actually faster dropping your fire galleys. One thing to point out though, the back docks for Nicov means that he's kind of gonna be slow moving his fleet up. Meanwhile, you have the Fat Dragon with the docks close to each other. He's gonna be able to amass a navy faster on the front line, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You're right. It's possible. I mean, in total now, Nicov has 3 docks to begin with, so that is already the advantage. But Vivi has something else in mind. He's dropping archer ranges now, so he wants to engage with I assume archers here, so that is an interesting one, to be honest. It
Yeah,
can
but
work.
it's a great idea, to be honest. Like, fire galleys aren't that great against the archers. You can see the pierce armor now on the fire galleys, 4-2, so they did get a slight nerf.
Yeah. Therefore, it might be justified here. Nicov is getting fletching earlier, though, just for the record.
I am thinking he might switch to galleys. Yeah, there you go. The galley switch is gonna be there. He's producing galleys now on multiple docks. And if he goes for galleys, these archers will be just dying very fast.
Yeah, that could be quite something, but he needs to mass it up as soon as possible. I mean, he has 3 docks to begin with. He needs to hurry up. Maybe this, I mean, not to underestimate the army number that he has.
One thing to point out, sorry to interrupt, is that Nicov doesn't see the archer ranges. So he doesn't know that archers will be coming his way. He might just spot them, but... So it's like...
Just in a few seconds, maybe.
It was a... It was like wasn't like a reaction from Nicov to switch to galleys. Meanwhile, beautiful demo shot. That was absolutely amazing by the Fat Dragon.
And it's quite some damage, that's nice, but Nicov is now completely disrupting the food eco of Vivi here with the 4 fishing boats. That is also really good, if you keep in mind that he only has 3 farmers for now. And yeah, doing quite some damage, even though the fight now on the right hand side with better numbers for Vivi here. Nicov needs to be careful, but he's getting down the fire galley earlier, and all of a sudden Nicov is taking over the water. That is quite crucial. Harassing to the north, to the right hand side, the fire galleys are suffering. It seems once again that Nicov is taking over the map.
Yeah, and the problem is that Nicov is completely void, so the Fat Dragon tried to sneak with the archers, but it ain't happening. Yeah. And you can see that 6 archers just mad that galley. This is the pierce armor reduction. You can see that 6-5 is the pierce armor for that galley, so basically nothing. That's one pierce insane. Armor, and there is a hole!
Oh, he's through, man. I didn't expect it. That can be quite useful, but Nicov has spotted this one, is going for the fast watchtower now. It will
but
most likely go up. But
the archers can stand below the watchtower, that's the problem.
Yeah,
oh, the demo is coming. The demo is coming. That can be very, very important. He has to choose.
Not seeing it.
Beautiful splits. Absolutely amazing splits.
But don't waste it for one man. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the problem is that like you either avoid the tower or you avoid demo. At least he's able to save 3 archers, which could still be useful. But I don't think that he's gonna be able to do that significant damage, like as compared to one that Nicov is doing. Like Nicov now has full water control. He will be able to mat everything with these fire galleys. He's gonna take down these archer ranges. Just watch.
Yeah, quite a comfortable position because he was able to actually. He was able to afford 4 or 5 galleys to go down and address the problem inside of his base, and is still dominating the water to the north, right? I mean, he's up there with his fire galleys, and all in all, Vivi in a hugely problematic situation now. He's being surrounded, his main island. He's also moved to the right-hand side. That is something with some farms and the gold, but man, this is looking quite fragile. Nicov going to cast stage, by the way.
Yeah, Nicov is going to be the first one to cast stage. He has a way better eco. Not only he has the fishing ship advantage, 5 fishing ships almost, as compared to 0 from the Fat Dragon, but again, he has the Japanese fishing ship, so he now has full water control. He can do whatever he wants, and that will be a huge eco lead for him. Like, look at that. Vivi is also stockpiling resources for a click up, but it's gonna take some time for him. Also, one thing that is extremely important to point out, if you don't have the fishing eco, you are forced to make farms. So that also takes away quite a lot of wood from you. And that's the wood that Nicov can use on his fleet.
Exactly. This is the reason why we have a situation in which, well, you have 16 to 9 military, and those 9 military units of Vivi are solely archers, whereas on the other side we have 9 galleys, 10 galleys now, 5 fire galleys and 1 demolition raft, and he's going to be in cast stage very soon. Vivi at least has clicked up as well. But as mentioned, his economy is certainly not as top-notch, even though Nicov once again going for the aftermath type of no wheelbarrow build here. That is at least something, an advantage for Vivi with his Malians. But still, I'm not so sure how well this is going to go. And this is not good. In my opinion, Vivi needs to win this game here because we have to keep in mind the loser of this matchup will be out of the tournament and the winner will proceed. This is the last week of this Swiss round, so not so good for Vivi at the moment.
Yeah, it is not so good at all. But I think he's only lucky because of one thing on this map. you have an outside rim of land, so even if he loses water control, it is not the end of the world. It is definitely not a great situation for him, but like unlike in Bog Arabia, if you lose water and you just have a lot of ships coming your way, you can't really do that much. In this map, he still has a chance of survival. He has some back area to work with, back gold, back stone and wood, so he can still survive for some time, at least. But with the Wargalis, it's gonna be quite hard.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about Wargalis is that they can harass these farms from the water, so the food eco of the Fat Dragon will suffer again, and the archers just don't stand a chance against the Wargalis. Maybe if you get to crossbows, but it's problematic.
It's huge problematic. He will need way more time, but he doesn't have it. He's surrounded, and the villagers now being slightly idle. They need to move to the other gold pile, but that's exactly where the Wargalis are. More and more villagers are now moving. They're migrating to the north, but
every bit of idle time forced is just crucial here. Vivi needs to drop a town center on the outside land. That's the only way he can actually make it happen. Like, he needs to start producing villages over there, because he is losing his starting island completely.
Yeah, but he's so behind in economy, man. It's 37 villages to 43. That's already huge, and then 7 fishing boats.
Yeah, but don't forget the difference in the wheelbarrows. So it's not a significant difference in villager count, but indeed the fishing is helping Nicov quite a bit. So I wouldn't say that Vivi is out of this game, but he's in a very, very bad situation right now, especially with 2 town centers coming up for Nicov as well. I wonder what the transition is going to be for the Fat Dragon. He's going to have to switch to cavalry later on with Malians, and the problem is that he doesn't have a lot of back area to work with, so the landline is kind of thin over here, so most of the region can be actually targeted by the Wargalis. Like, look at Nikov's backland, it's just way more thick, and eventually he has a lot of back space to work with.
Yeah, a lot of nice spots you could drop potential TCs like that. And judging how everything is going, Vivi needs definitely more time. He's doing it now, trying to boom at least as much as he can. Even going for a monastery there, interestingly, tries to just make the best out of the resources that he has access to. But in the meantime, he is not able to do anything about the middle of the map, that is the water. Dropping the TC on the right hand side is important, but that's the same spot where Nicov is now dropping a siege bird shop. Nicov now understanding that he also needs to go for the lands, and that is his idea. He wants to potentially just build up pressure with the siege workshop and also other units, and then just go for the land, as it seems.
Yeah, I agree. Problem is that the Fat Dragon is also losing his buildings, so if one of the archery range is already going down, he's losing his docks as well, so it is looking way better for Nicov now. He's harassing those farms quite a bit. Overall, Vivi is not out of this game yet, but it is extremely tough for him, so yeah. It would take a smaller miracle for him to turn this around. Especially considering how well Nicov is walled. You can tell that he's playing quite defensive. He just doesn't want to risk anything. Goes for defensive measures, goes for the walls, and there is no way that the Fat Dragon can actually raid him. Because that's what Vivi is doing. Every time that Vivi is falling behind his own base, he's trying to just survive and try to do pressure on Nikov's base. But Nicov is always walled. And there is just no way of doing pressure. And there's the knights from the Fat Dragon. Feels a little bit desperation to me. He's also having housing issues.
That's not gonna work like that, man. You are up against so much military, so much water military, that just hinders you from going to the middle of the map, even though we have those sneaky crossbows on the left hand side. But I'm not so convinced that they will be able to make the difference here, as they're being welcomed by the Wargalis here. Ah, my god, man.
Maybe crossbows can do some damage to those Wargalis. So, like, look at that.
It's nice, man.
Crossbows are surprisingly effective against Wargalis in this setup. No! Oh, the crossbows. That was actually a lifesaver for Vivi, but he still took a lot of shots. That demo was just enough to do significant damage, and the Wargalis will clean this up. So without the demo, Wargalis couldn't have cleaned this up, but now they do.
God, man.
And I was seeing Vivi trying to push to the right side with some knights, maybe try to flank over there as well, but no, he's just trying to fight against the Wargalis. These knights don't even have a single pierce armor upgrade, so the Wargalis deal all 7 damage on these guys. No, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. With this economy also, he just has a lot of wood, but doesn't do anything else. He doesn't have enough food income. That's not a well-balanced economy that he has, and therefore it's not just going according to his plan. And even Bolsa at this point, does he really need it? Adding more TCs, I understand, but he's losing so much important grounds. Nicov is just taking over everything here, and no matter what he does, it just doesn't work against the army of Nicov here. The knights didn't work. He needs to mass up, he needs to take his time, but he's not given the time. And therefore I think it's going to be even more now than a little miracle to actually win this game.
It is almost impossible for the Fat Dragon now. The only way he can make this happen is if he somehow manages to land significant damage on Nikov's eco. Like, but he needs to kill like 20, 30-ish villagers to make it happen, which seems almost impossible considering that he basically has no military. Looks like Fat Dragon is moving to the right side with a few villagers, might attempt to sneak. That's his only chance. He has a safe eco at the back though, let's give him that. So, like I said, it is extremely hard for him to come back. But if there is... No, he's just bleeding farms.
Yeah.
No, in this case it's no. Maybe if he lands a few, let's say, stables, starts popping out a few light cavs and harassing these wood line on the right side for Nicov, then maybe. But just with booming on the outside, it's not gonna happen. Now using the market as well.
I mean... He's trying to save up quite some resources. Don't tell me Vivi is trying to go for Imperial H here. Yeah, he is actually going for Imperial H.
That could work.
You know what you want to do then? I don't know. I mean, you just don't have the
only way that
resources.
Vivi can win this right now, he can't have a fight in the middle of the map. So the best thing he can do is try to pressure the back of the base for Nicov. Nicov had an overchop on the right side. That could be something that the Fat Dragon can work with. And did I hear a stable?
Yeah, I heard a stable as well, but I can't locate because... Oh no, I just saw it's from Nicov though, I guess.
Possible.
I only see it in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm possibly blind.
I just found one in the middle to the right from
there
Nicov,
you go.
But, you know,
It is Nikov's stable. Well, it is definitely reasonable because right now the Fat Dragon has 0 army to fight against this one. You can look at that, 0. Nothing of an army. And Vivi is going for Siege Workshop. Nicov is going to be faster to imp as well. Because Vivi doesn't have the buildings to click up. That's why he's making a Siege Workshop. He has the monastery, but his click up is going to be later as well. And the castle by Nicov, he's going to take control over the central region. I think the problem for Fat Dragon now is that he's kind of late. So even if he pressures the base of Nicov at the back, Nicov now has the boglands completely controlled, and that's a lot of resources. And Vivi has no chance of contesting that at all.
Not true. I mean, interestingly though, Vivi has quite caught up with his economy. And also, just for the record, man, it was a GG.
Yeah, it was a GG.
Still didn't have wheelbarrow, right? I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. Just make your opponent GG without you having wheelbarrow. That's quite the thing here, man. Insane. Yeah, crazy, man. Too slow. Vivi too slow. It boomed well in the end, but it was not enough. Nicov had the control, and therefore not possible. Welcome everyone, Demas Red and LidaKor here. This is the third game. We are on Seize the Hump. Match point game for Nicov. It's going to be Aztecs versus Kells.
Yeah, a little bit surprised to me. Aztecs can work quite well in this scenario. But the main issue for me is that what's the plan with Aztecs? You go for infantry build, that's something that the Celts have an advantage on. You go for an archer build, Celts are quite good with that one as well because they have the wood cutting bonus, so ultimately their archer numbers might be up a little bit faster. This is why I thought that Incas might be more reasonable, because you can actually do some towering and force your opponent off the wood or of the central island. And the layout of this map is quite interesting. It's not like a normal Seize the Hump, I think.
Exactly, I was going to say, man. They're quite far away from each other.
And
it's
like,
actually
the landing between them is very thin. Vivi going very aggressive with his scout. I think he wants to lame.
Potentially, but also trying to go for the right spots to see where the important resources are. This was one of his mistakes when he was against Leary. He was on the same map and he just wasn't able to find the right spots on the main island, and this cost him the game. So maybe he just wants to make sure that he doesn't do the same mistake again. Therefore, ambitiously scouting. But man, they're quite away from each other. Is it really worth it to go for man-at-arms? I mean, you got the civs now, Aztecs versus Kells.
Well,
so for sure, but
with Celts, I would actually think yes. that is a so significant bonus, having the cat speed advantage for your man-at-arms. The thing is that they don't necessarily have to pressure the starting islands of the players rather than the inside areas. So I think what's gonna have a major impact on the game is where they're gonna start placing their bases. I would say that we might want to play this a little bit more conservative, because I would give Aztecs the upper hand in, like, let's say early to mid Castle Age. But in Feudal, I would say Celts have the upper hand in this matchup, so we might want to play this a little bit more defensive, going on the left side of this island. That's what I'm thinking, at least.
Yeah, it's probably the better idea. As you said, the early momentum for the Celts could be quite nice. Interesting also, Nicov has placed his lumber camp directly to the middle of the map. Quite an aggressive, at least potential that he can build up, because once he reaches Feudal Age, with a forward barracks like that, he can still go for some insane kind of man-at-arms with that one. And Vivi best advised to actually prepare himself against this, but we'll see when he's going to spot that one. He's once again on the middle islands with his Eagle Scout. The more information he has, the better he can prepare himself, and I guess that's going to be crucial against Nicov. And it's also crucial for Vivi to be as careful, but also as much filled with knowledge as possible to actually have an upper hand to win this game, because otherwise he's out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a huge fan of Nikov's lumber camp placement, and also his map generation is not that glorious. Look at how far away he is from all gold spots. The closest one is on the elevation to the south, which is not a great gold spot either. So overall, he's gonna have some trouble grabbing gold for himself, and that is gonna help out Vivi quite a bit. I wonder, Vivi's gonna find his island, by the way. Gonna check Vivi's point of view. What he can see from the map is gonna be essential. He doesn't see the lumber camp of Nicov. That's actually very important, and he doesn't have a great scouting on the middle island either. So, not a great start. I'm not so certain why he's scouting the base of Nicov, to be honest. Like, what's the advantage from that?
Yeah, not much, because you can be sure that you will not find out too much. Just the fact that there's no lumber camp on the islands.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can look for, because there's no... He might be looking for some indications of what strategy his opponent is going for. Maybe there's a barracks, but it is quite uncommon to build the barracks on your starting island, because it just takes so much time, even with Celts, to move up. But Vivi going aggressive, going for barracks. Meanwhile, Nicov also has his own barracks ready. Slight feudal age advantage for Nicov. That's gonna be very important, because he's gonna have faster men-at-arms.
Definitely. I mean, there's a village difference between the two, but faster men-at-arms in this case can matter a lot. And there we go. Vivi has now finally understood where the main juicy position of Nicov is. He's found the barracks. He's found 3 forward villagers, by the way.
Oh, and look at that.
Oh, nice. Oh,
there we go. He's gonna deny that goal. That is so smart, but he has to watch out as well, because Nicov, yeah, he's gonna be aggressive.
Both are going to be super aggressive. I love it, man. But as you said, Nicov going to be super aggressive. He now has the advantage with the numbers, and now we have a huge clash in the middle, man.
The feudal age advantage is going to be very, very important as well, because Nicov is going to have a stronger scout a little bit earlier than what Vivi is going to have. And overall, that is going to be so impactful, the extra attack on that scout. I think Vivi knows that Nicov might be faster to feudal, so this is why he targeted the scout and tried to take it down. And it is going to be a very aggressive move by the Fat Dragon. Does he want to tower? I could totally imagine him trying to tower that one.
Yeah, why not? I mean, definitely. But now it's time for the major clash once again. A lot of villagers, a lot of militias. It's not even worth to go for men-at-arms at this point, because you're going to lose the militia before it even happens. So it's going to be even more militias being added to the mix. And wow, quite some units dying. So far, no villagers, just militias dying, 2 militias. And a scout, so advantage for Vivi, a slight advantage.
Yeah, there we go. Look at him landing some shots. He's doing it very smart. Professional AoE 2 games, by the way. All villager fights. Like, forget late game action. Let's go villager clashes. Eventually, Vivi is forced to leave. But look at the amount of idle time that has been forced on Nicov.
Yeah, more than for Vivi for sure.
And
more villagers
eventually, earlier man-at-arms for the Fat Dragon. This is very, very important. But man-at-arms will hit as well for Nicov. He's gonna have 3, that's also important. As it looks like Vivi is gonna go for his own man-at-arms. 3 against 3, very low HP Eagle, and the Tower Wars. Slight advantage over here for Nicov, I think, with the building.
Is it? Let me just check. Yeah. Okay, it's not gonna matter as both are gonna be up. A lot of humans are dying. That's a fact.
Oh, but look at him on the man-at-arms. That's actually very important.
Yeah, but the Tower of Vivi is gonna break down here because of the villager bonus. Deal more damage. There we go. They're now trying to copy each other's style here. A lot of back and forth.
Oh, the archer's moving in from the Fat Dragon. He wants to snipe a few villagers. This is turning out to be a very, very interesting matchup. I wonder if anyone's gonna mix in some more man-at-arms. Yeah, Nicov is sending in more man-at-arms into this fight. More villager wars. He still has 1 man-at-arms alive. And Nicov keeps his tower up. Vivi is losing villagers. This is looking very bad for him.
Yeah, because he wants to make this transition into archers, right? He wants to counter those man-at-arms, but it's late.
He's gonna need gold for it. He has gold access.
Yeah. I mean, he has the gold income, right, on the left-hand side, but still, it's a bit awkward. It's a bit awkward.
I think Nicov has a huge advantage now. The only thing that could be useful for the Fat Dragon is that Nicov was investing in man-at-arms quite heavily. He's still producing 1. And those man-at-arms aren't that extremely strong later on. So the archers can counter them quite well, even though these are Celtic man-at-arms. Oh, a potential villager kill there on the gold mine. Nope,
it will take some time before fletching has kicked in.
Without fletching, it's surprisingly hard to kill villagers.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But the other time being force is actually very important. And like I said, if Nicov overinvests in man-at-arms, that can be something that the Fat Dragon could utilize very close to killing that villager. Oh, look at the Celtic man-at-arms, left, right, they are just chasing down those guys.
He's trying his best, but now Vivi is finally taking over here. Nicov still has a 1.5 villager lead, let's say, because Vivi has lost 2 before, at least 2 more.
Yeah, but there is some low HP villagers on the gold, and more importantly, we did talk about the fact that Nicov had very bad gold spawns. Look at Nikov's gold eco now. He has none.
Non-existent, yep.
And that can be something like, so yeah, he has the upper hand in villager count, but depending on what strategy he was actually trying to pursue, that can be very, very significant, could impact his castlage time, could impact his military production if he wanted to go for archers. He's making skirms right now as an answer to the archers from the Fat Dragon. I wonder if Vivi is gonna start mixing in some eagles to fight against the skirms. That might be reasonable.
Yeah, indeed he's gonna make it. 1 eagle is in the making now in this middle barracks, so that's actually the perfect idea. And so far Vivi is good at controlling what is happening here.
Yeah, first you have to kill man-at-arms though. Eagles aren't worth anything if you don't kill man-at-arms. Man-at-arms will just eat up eagles alive. But indeed, an eagle switch from Vivi could be something that works out quite well. And it is all about the gold control right now. So, if Nicov can't get gold for himself, this could be a significant issue. He's not mining gold for quite a lot of time. Now he's going back. I think that the Fat Dragon might need a little bit more archers. Looks like he's gonna try to pressure the starting island of Nicov. That's also a reasonable strategy sometimes. So, people always focus on the middle island combat, but if you forget about your starting island, then you could be in trouble. Same applies for Vivi though, as Nicov is moving in with his skirms now, finding the gold mine from the Fat Dragon. Looks like they want to fight this one.
Yeah, because only skirms, they will not necessarily damage the villagers, and I think
even fletching skirms are just kind of bad against villagers.
Yeah, it's okay so far, but Vivi's now going for scale mail armor. That is something really important. And as
he
long
wants
as
to switch to full eagles.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's the right idea against man-at-arms. I wonder if Nikov's gonna start mixing some more.
That's gonna be a tough one. I mean, especially if you have Celts man-at-arms, they are fast. So it will be more problematic, because normally I would say eagles can work in this situation because it's an open map. They can avoid the contact to man-at-arms, but it's
not against the Celts.
True.
The problem is that he has some low HP villagers on his gold pile, and that kind of means that he just lost another one to the raid of Nicov. Could lose even more.
Ooh, there we go.
Look at the amount of health that those villagers have. If Nicov finds some weak ones, he can start killing those guys. With the Fat Dragon, finally with the fletching, that's gonna be important because he can snipe down those man-at-arms a little bit easier.
Yeah,
a lot of file time is being forced, and the problem is that now Nicov also has gold access with a lot of villagers. So far the eco is better for Nicov, I have to say. But if those man-at-arms die, the egos could start destroying everything.
I just wonder why we have the situation always like that. Vivi always exaggerates on the woods here. The economy is never that well balanced in this very situation. But at this point he doesn't care anymore because he's just engaging, just with brute force, chasing the men-at-arms with his eagles.
Yeah, Nicov is forced to make more men-at-arms. Like, look at the amount of men-at-arms Nicov is forced to make.
Well, it's not good, obviously, but it is how it is. But as long as it goes like that, Vivi is able to actually pressure. And if he continues like that, he could maybe even force away the villagers on the gold for Nicov. So
yeah, this is actually very important. Sure. And also, forcing Nicov to invest in men-at-arms is not a bad idea, especially considering that those men-at-arms dying very fast. Now the eagle is moving in, and this is actually very good for the Fat Dragon, I think. Even if you can't kill the villagers, the idle time you can force on them could be very, very impactful.
Interesting what he does there. So it's going to be even more and more archery range production.
Oh, look at that. Now this is actually very good. Eagles moving in. You know, what I'm thinking about is a tower would be very, very good for the Fat Dragon. He doesn't have the stone for that, but if he can tower that gold, that's gonna be very important. Oh no, Nicov is moving in on his gold miners now. This could backfire very heavily for the Fat Dragon.
I need to retreat right away. The villagers also need to retreat. They need to be safe. They need to have the upper hill advantage.
Look at the amount of men-at-arms. That is amazing. So many men-at-arms for Nicov. But again, Nicov is having a trouble getting his gold mine going. It's interesting, it's definitely interesting. Fat Dragon also out of gold himself. I would like to see him possibly trying... Yeah, he's transitioning to left-hand side gold mine with the most ineffective gold mining in the history of the AoE 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy.
That's not the most efficient way of getting gold, I would say.
We've seen better, that's for sure. But now we have once again a major clash going to happen. And look at the amount of villagers involved in this one.
Wow. Healer advantage might be a huge factor in this one as well. Sure. And it's looking better for Nicov.
Yeah. So 15 units, 30... Oh, Vivi's losing all the units, man. All of a sudden, it's crumbling.
Vivi is losing a lot of units, but now he has the archers. The man-at-arms superiority of the Celts is very, very paying off. You couldn't do it with any other civilization than Celts. But this is the Celt speed bonus. This is what makes it available. Look at that. These men-at-arms are chasing down the skirms. This is over. This definitely feels over now. The Fat Dragon gonna get his archer range trapped over here.
Nice.
So, yeah, that is extremely smart.
What a good fight for Nicov, man.
Yeah, amazing fight. It's all about the speed bonus of the Celts, really.
Yeah, so now it needs to just work with them even more.
Yeah, look at the military count.
With this momentum.
Vivi was trying to click up to castle, but I think that Nicov is gonna be faster with the amount of gold miners he's gonna have. Vivi switching to the left-hand side gold. It is still not over for him, but very, very tough situation. He's 10 villages behind, which is a significant issue. Not even to talk about this army. And the problem is, what army is gonna Vivi make? Is he gonna continue with Eagles? I think I wouldn't actually be surprised to see Nicov getting a long swordsman upgrade if he gets up to castle. He has so many men-at-arms, you have a good speed on those guys. A long swordsman upgrade could be so good. That would completely deny.
Man. You know, the one thing that even confused me even further on is Nicov at this point doesn't have a single economy upgrade, right? His economy upgrade is just more and more men-at-arms, that's all. So,
yeah, he's going full men-at-arms. And he has the +1 armor as well. Those are actually very tanky men-at-arms. Skirms from the Fat Dragon won't make it happen. It looks like Vivi is making skirms because he wants to conserve the gold for a potential click-up, but like I said, Nicov is gonna be faster, as Vivi also deletes his archer range in the middle.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy. Nicov is now going to cast Edge earlier. He doesn't have Rebarrow. He doesn't have Double Bit X. He doesn't have anything like that, but...
Yeah, but the army is speaking for itself.
Exactly. The army is doing the thing here. And Vivi's now going for his own men-at-arms, but man, what is happening? The villagers are just moving from right to the left to left to the right. And at least Vivi is also now on the way to the next stage, but that's definitely more healthier for Nicov, what he has done so far. The middle island is in his hands, at least to the right-hand side. And with that one, it's going to be quite convenient for him. I see a lot of troubles for Vivi in this game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. One thing that is for sure, he will never surrender in this one unless it's completely over.
Yeah.
He knows what's at stake. If he loses this one, he's out of the tournament, so He can't give up on this. Luckily for him, he has still a decent amount of gold to work with. He's 10 villagers, well, 8 villagers behind, a little bit behind in castlage time as well. But indeed, with the wheelbarrow, that's a slight advantage for him. And what's the plan for Vivi over here? He's mixing in man-at-arms himself.
Yeah, I'm asking myself why he does that.
Yeah, he can't really do anything else. Like, he can go for archers because he needed the gold for a click-up. Skirms don't do any damage. Problem is that why he's running away from this one. Like, what's the point? Aztec man-at-arms will never outrun Celts.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
He's like trying to get inside the eco of Nicov, but there is like nothing to do with these guys. Best thing he could do is just trade for the man-at-arms of Nicov. They have the same upgrades, so he could trade one-on-one, but look at this.
Man,
just running around.
Bad.
And there you go, longswords upgrade from Nicov. That is more than reasonable over here. He's going full longswords. Look at that. How often do you see Castley longswords as the build?
No, not too often, but every time we see him, it's quite enjoyable. That's for certain.
Look at the speed of these Celtic man-at-arms. It's just amazing. And he doesn't even have squires yet, I think. And the problem is that Aztecs don't really do anything against that. Longswords coming up from Vivi as well. Okay.
Okay. Quite interesting, quite ballsy.
Oh no. Now this is the moment when Nicov finds the left-hand side eco of the Fat Dragon. Might be a GG thing.
Yeah, it's quite...
Villagers can't outrun these guys, by the way. Longswords will just catch them, no matter what. Vivi chopping some stone. I assume he wanted to drop a town center when he gets up to castle. But this is looking very bad now. Maybe... The only thing I can think of is that Fat Dragon could have tried to switch to crossbows. Because Feudal Age skirms against crossbows aren't that great. But there is not a lot to do against this type of a matchup.
It's definitely bad here what is happening over here now, even with the siege as an additional force. And it's GG, there we go. Nicov winning a 3-0 here against Vivi, who is now out of the game. It's week number 5. It was the match point game for both of the players, so to speak, today. And therefore, Vivi has lost it. Nicov is proceeding to the final stage of this tournament.